Welcome to an overview of Barons War. I'm Andy Hobday, and I'm going to take you through a high-level look at the game, run you through some of the way that the rules work, and talk about some of the key mechanics to help you understand the way that the game plays. Barons War is a skirmish game or small battle game designed to be played with 28mm miniatures, both infantry and cavalry. We use 3 different types of dice during the game. Most of the game mechanics and the rolls are used using a D10, so it's a D10 system. We use that to roll to hit, for wounds, for armor save, for morale checks, etc., etc. It's the main dice for the game. The other 2 dice we use is a standard D6. The D6, the 6-sided dice, is used for a strength of charge, which we can talk about later. And we also use a D6 as a marker for morale. And morale is quite a key mechanic for the Barons War. Each player comes to the table with their own retinue. A retinue is made up of warriors, and on average you have about 25 to 30 miniatures. You can play games as small as 15, and you can play bigger games if you've got an afternoon to play 40, 50, 60 miniatures. So the game is quite scalable. Before each battle, you and your opponent will need to choose a retinue list. This will be dictated to you based on the points value of the game that you're going to play, and sometimes by the scenario that you choose. You take those points, and the retinue is made up of independent groups of warriors. You arm those warriors, and you choose those warriors to be your force. Terrain is really important for Barons War. As a skirmish game, you need lots of it, as you can see from our table here. 1 piece of line of sight blocking terrain per 1 foot is what we recommend. And by that, we mean things like buildings and woods and hovels, and really the more the better. Games of Barons War are broken down into rounds. Usually 5 rounds, but the scenario could dictate a 6th round. A round is broken down into the initiative phase, where you dice off to see who has initiative. We then have the activation phase, which has compulsory activations and new activations, and then a round ends with a housekeeping phase, where you tidy up everything that's happened and you move on to the next round. The simple dice roll determines who has initiative. Once initiative is established, we move into the activation round. Players initially have to move all of their groups that are in what we call the compulsory phase, which means that they're either broken or they have to move dictated to by the rules. After that, we can move into the new actions, where a player can move any of their groups and give them new actions. When both players have activated all of their units, based on how many actions units have, we come to the end of the round, which is the housekeeping phase. In here, we check if the scenario is ended, so rules for scenario end. We clean up the table, we remove counters, we check any morale, and then we prepare ready for the next round. When it comes to activating your groups, you give them an action. These are movement-based ones, which can be a move or a run. They are combat-based ones, which can be shooting or melee. There's a defend action, where you want to hunker down and get prepared to be attacked. There's command actions, where your command groups are issuing orders to your other groups. And there's also a rally-based action and a special action, all based around abilities. How many actions a group has is dictated by their profile. Most groups only have 1 action, which means they can only move once or do 1 thing each round, where your command groups can have 2 or 3 actions. No group can move more than twice or take more than two actions, so if a command group has more than 2 actions, it must use the 3rd as a command. Actions can also be used as reactions. So when a player decides to do something with player A does something with their group, as in shoots at their opponent or charges their opponent, if you have, or that opponent has actions left, they can use them as reactions, so they can shoot back or they can take part in the melee. is all about how you use your actions. Once initiative has been determined by the dice roll, the player who has initiative takes the first turn. They decide on the action they're going to do, and they activate the group that they wish to activate using that action. It is an alternating turn game, so once that group has acted, initiative passes over to the opposing player. Morale plays a massive part in the Baron's War. It's not just the clash of swords, the rain of arrows, it's also the psychological warfare, really, and how your troops are feeling in the moment. Losing warriors affects morale, losing combat affects morale, and this morale is marked on the table with a morale dice. So units, as they play, will get morale penalties. As well as standard groups of warriors, we have command groups, which are distinguished by being led by a commander. Command groups usually have more than one action. They can give command actions to other units near them, and they can also inspire the warriors around them. Movement action. There's two different types of movement that you can do. There's just a basic movement, which is the standard movement, where you move how many inches based on the profile in any direction. There's no facing for the models. Or you can double your movement into a run action. And a run action is twice the movement, but it must be in a straight line. If your group runs, they become weary and have a weary token until the housekeeping phase. Combat actions, there are two types of combat actions that you can take. One is ranged combat with any group and warriors that are armed with ranged weapons. One is melee combat, which is where you get up close and you smash each other. For ranged combat, if you can see another group and you have ranged weapons like bows or slings or crossbows, you can choose to take a shot at them. For melee or close combat, you need to have line of sight to the people you want to charge. Add the movement to a roll of a d6. If you can reach them, you can engage them in combat. If one of your groups looks to be in trouble, or you can't think of what else to do with them this turn, I would recommend a defend action, where you move them all into base to base, and they hunker down behind their shields, waiting for the trouble. At the end of every round is the housekeeping phase. In it, you remove all the action tokens, you adjust any morale penalties, you take any morale checks, and you remove any weary tokens. Morale penalties play a very important part in games of the Baron's War. As each group suffers casualties and combat fatigue, it takes morale penalties. Morale penalties will go up and down during the game. The higher the number, the greater the strain and stress on the warriors, which means a bigger impact on their effectiveness. It isn't just the weapons that you arm your warriors with that makes them different, it's also the abilities that they have. Some have native abilities, like spearmen can have brace, or archers can have every bloody Sunday, where they're training every Sunday so they can move and shoot. They can also have abilities that you buy, so you can actually make your groups very unique. This has been a quick overview of the Baron's War. If you've got any more questions, head over to our Facebook page, which is called The Baron's War, or just email me.